Welcome everyone to the Hearth. Allison and I are here to speak about mutual support and cooperation. Mutual support and cooperation is one of the principles, Ray Castellino's principles for groups and families. And I think when I learned I remember learning that he said that all the other principles come together toward mutual support and cooperation. And when I work with my clients, and even for my own self and my own relationships, if I can remember mutual support and cooperation, even when I'm feeling angry or sad or scared, and it causes me to come out of connection with other people, if I remember that mutual support and cooperation is back there as an intention. The principles for me are a set of intentions for relationship. Then whatever it is, whatever the weather is in the moment, whatever the storm passing through, the principle of mutual support and cooperation, it feels like an anchor to remind me that I love these people. I want to be in relationship with them. And I'm just going through some passing emotional state, which is making me feel disconnected. And I also, in my Brima practice, mutual support is a principle in Brima. And it's a principle in which everything in the universe supports everything else in the universe. And so it's a principle that really connects me with gratitude for all that supports me. And even things that can feel difficult, I can see them as, some kind of crap for the compost pile for my life. So just seeing that all that I like and even all that I don't like can support me. So I'll let you take over from here, Allison.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that when Ray started bringing in the principle of mutual support and cooperation, I really felt a difference in the energy of a workshop or a group or a faculty meeting or a staff meeting. That when we're aligned with that principle, it feels as if even if there's a lot of stuff going on in your head, there's still an intention to move towards the other by supporting the other, by looking for how we can be in cooperation with each other. And I feel very often so many of us are oriented in a place of moving away from others, by isolating ourselves, by separating ourselves. That when internally you could feel isolated and separated, but when you have that intention of mutual support and cooperation, it gives you something else to focus on, to look towards. And it's just that little bit of shift in perspective, even if, let's say, 75% of you is not there, the intention there, it creates a cohesive or coherent energy in a group where you feel the flow more, you feel the energy moving through. And in my nervous system, when a group really understands that sense of mutual support and cooperation, I feel relief.
Mhm.
It also creates a sense of safety in me. So I really enjoy that principle. And it's wonderful to be able to kind of bring it up. Like, what if I, brought in the principle of mutual support and cooperation right now? How would you consider, like how you're approaching this from that principle.
Mhm.
And just that shift really supports people. So, energetically, I really enjoy that in a group that is working
Mhm.
that way.
I like what you're saying about that shift in energy, the shift in perspective. In some ways, you might just expect that mutual support and cooperation is just obvious. That when we're with our family or our loved ones, our friends, that there's just this idea that that's an obvious thing. But when we're upset with someone, or even if we're grumbling about somebody, it's very common that family members grumble about each other. And it's almost like we're harder on our own loved ones than strangers. Then speaking the principle of mutual support and cooperation explicitly, it creates that shift or that of energy or perspective that you're talking about, because whatever we've gotten caught in, we can go, oh yeah, these are the people I care about the most. And how beneficial it is if I can really center myself around the principle of mutual support and cooperation, regardless of what the passing emotion is. And our families, if we have a good enough, we never aim for perfection in our work. We're always aiming for good enough. And that's why I even liked when you talked about a small percentage. I work a lot with couples, and whenever I'm mediating something that's a little difficult, then we work with, can you feel even a small part of you that can orient to mutual support and cooperation and care and gratitude for the other? And so that's a really great tool, I find, of not feeling like there's some perfect state of mutual support and cooperation. But even if there is something that we're working through, even on an ongoing basis, that we can help that part of us that's connected to grow. And one of the things that I really learned in womb surrounds and studying this pre and perinatal work is how to regulate in connection. So that was a really big teaching I got from Ray Castellino and Myrna Martin, as I studied with them. Is, as you were saying, we are very oriented to going away from each other in the Western culture to balance each other or to flee. Some people flee from conflict or discomfort. But the principle of mutual support and cooperation opened up the possibility that I can co-regulate. I can actually receive support from the group and actually stay in the group instead of going off into isolation and trying to regulate alone. And so, in that way, in this work, mutual support and cooperation is really that principle of co-regulation and just actually being with each other, becoming such a huge support for our well-being.
Yeah, I like everything you're saying and how you work with it with couples. And it's making me think about when I work with couples, one of the things that well, there's a few steps. I just wrote them down so I'd remember. Like one is to be able to make eye contact with each other. So with each other, with the family, so that you're looking up and actually receiving the other person and they're receiving you rather than going down here and looking at the floor or off to the side, which a lot of us do. Um, then we're in our own history. And when we look, we can look at each other and look away, but we have to keep coming back to looking at each other. Ray calls it brief and frequent eye contact.
Mhm.
So it's just that of being able to keep making contact and registering, okay, I'm in this place, in this day, in this town, in this state, on this planet Earth, in this moment. Um, and I'm receiving you here and I'm present with you, to just keep orienting to the present moment rather than going into yourself and into the history and
Mhm.
not even registering if the other person's receiving you. So that's one step I thought of where in working with families and couples. The other place of mutual support that I've learned is that very often, where the conflict is, each person has to be right. So, in the whole experience of mutual support and cooperation, I have the people look at the other person and figure out where they're right.
Mhm.
And then also look at themselves and figure out the possibility of where they might be wrong.
Mhm.
And to to allow both to exist inside of themselves and the other. But when people orient to, well, what's right about what this person is saying? What's good about what this person is saying? What's the true essence of it? That's mutual support and cooperation rather than you have to hear me. You have to know my point. I'm right. Like, and then being emphatic about it and insistent about it, and demanding the other person to understand their perspective. And when you shift and ask each person to look for how the other person's right, it just opens up a different door, and it really shifts the conflict into, we're imperfect human beings, and
Mhm.
we do make mistakes if we like it or not, and there is no true perfection here. What I like to tell people is the only perfection is imperfection. We're
Mhm.
perfectly imperfect. um, and then the other thing I thought about was I statements. When we can come in and really come from our own experience in describing something rather than you did this or you said that, but to come inside of um, like how we experienced it, how what we said and what was the effect of what we said, and coming in like I noticed when I said such and such, I experienced you shutting down. What was that about for you? And just to be curious, to have a lot of curiosity about what is the truth underneath all the conflict and static and challenges. So, coming in with I statements, which are a lot harder than they seem to be. Like Kate and I were just working with a family and teaching them to come from the I statement place, and it was not easy for them, but it was really good. So, and again, it creates safety that each person is willing to take responsibility for themselves. Um, Saying you shuts the energy down. Saying I experience such and such kind of opens the energy so that it can be inclusive of my experience and your experience.
Hmm.
It's a very different place. So those are three things I could think of that really support that principle of mutual support and cooperation. It's I statements, eye contact, and looking for where the other person's right.
Hmm. Yeah, when you were talking about looking for where the other person is right, I felt a big breath in my body and I felt this opening just having you talk about that. And and then again, I mean the eye contact, but then also the I statements. That has been such an exploration for me, both for myself because I did not the very foundation of an I statement is that I can feel myself and my experience. And when I can feel myself and my experience, then I'm present.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm present, I can feel connection and that mutuality. And so the whole exploration of I statements, both for myself and then again, working with families and couples, is so powerful for those couples who are really able to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And there is, just as you're saying, a softening and a spaciousness that starts to open up in the relationship. And life never stops being hard. You never stop having challenges coming toward you. But those challenges are so different if a couple or a family or even a group of colleagues can experience it as you and me together trying to figure out this challenge versus you and me fighting with each other about the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens so much in families and even, couples can break apart in challenging times if they can't actually get into mutual support and cooperation where they have that felt sense of we're sitting together and working to solve this challenge, working to process this pain in mutual support and cooperation.
Mm. Yeah, I'm thinking more about what you said earlier about co-regulation. Um, but I like everything you just said. It's really interesting for me for us to kind of talk about this in certain ways because I don't think I've ever had a long conversation about this before. So it's just bringing up ideas as you're talking and I'm putting things together. But one of them that I think is great for parents is to never underestimate the power of co-regulation.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about, when my son is trying to study for a test and he gets very nervous. And so then he's forcing himself to kind of work within a narrow window there when he has that nervousness. And then when he comes into my office here and sits with me on the couch, and I'll be working on something and he'll be working on something, everything settles and the space opens up. And then he'll give me flashcards that he makes on the computer, and then I test him with it and I speak slowly and I ask questions. And then if he doesn't understand something, we Google it on the computer. I mean, it's amazing to be able to be a kid these days and just be able to Google stuff to
Mhm.
understand it more deeply. because and I keep showing him it's better not to just memorize the answer. It's better to really know it.
Hmm.
But you need to have a settled nervous system in order to know it. And then when you know it, you remember it. It's not an
Hmm.
effort to remember. Whereas if you're, stressed out and trying to remember it, it's like forced learning, force feeding to the brain. And he does really well on the tests when we do that. He's noticed a big difference between when he does that and when he doesn't do it. And so now we take the time when we know he has a big test to him just to come up here and kind of relax around my energy, and he can then make the flashcards, and then we go back and forth with exploring the answers, and he goes in and aces all those exams. It's really amazing. It really works. And for me, that is such an opportunity to keep practicing the power of co-regulation, but it feels like a mutual support and cooperation
Hmm.
where he can experience that and really get a positive imprint from it rather than being isolated and trying to force feed his brain.
Hmm. Hmm.
It just doesn't work. So he can learn in relationship rather than in isolation. And it's also healing for me because I grew up learning in isolation. I did not have the opportunity that he's having with me. Um, and I love being able to also feel the healing of that in me as he and I do
Hmm.
that together. So mutual support and cooperation can be such an opportunity for parents when you're trying to just honor the power of co-regulation. I mean, that is the nervous system's expression of mutual support and cooperation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really appreciating all that you're saying. And I too had to learn in isolation, stressed out. And
Mm-hmm.
I really am appreciating what you're saying. And I'm really appreciating how working with the principles, both in our practice and in our lives, we are able to give our own children and support other people and other families to experience things that we did not when we were little.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Does
this is
that feel
fun.
like a good place to stop?
Yeah, I feel like we did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Allison.
Yeah, thank you too, Eileen.
Yeah. And I hope to see you all at the talk in a few weeks. Thank you.